The world is not watching closely enough, but the Middle East is on fire. In the last few days, a silent storm has turned into a thunderous war. Israel and Iran, two of the most powerful and ideologically opposed nations in the region, have entered into a direct and deadly confrontation. What began as strategic military strikes has now turned into a full-blown regional crisis. It started with Israel launching targeted airstrikes on Iran's suspected nuclear facilities. In response, Iran did not hold back. They launched over a dozen ballistic missiles and dozens of drones, not just as a message, but as a demonstration of power. Cities like Tel Aviv and Haifa were directly targeted. Iranian media confirms that advanced weaponry like Kabarsh and Photo-1 missiles were used, the same weapons capable of striking deep underground bunkers. The situation has escalated, with Israel claiming to have destroyed several Iranian aircraft, including F-15 and F-5 jets, a refueling plane, and even underground airbase infrastructure. In a dramatic counterstrike, Iran brought down an Israeli spy drone near Farabad and publicly released the footage to send a global message. We are not backing down, and this is no longer just a two-country conflict. The world is getting pulled in. Russia has expressed deep concern over the growing tension. Iranian foreign officials met with President Putin in Moscow to discuss joint strategy and security cooperation. The United States, meanwhile, is hinting at something far more dangerous, with former President Trump openly discussing the idea of regime change in Iran, calling the current leadership a failure for their people. The conflict's shadow has fallen far beyond the battlefield. Oil prices have jumped dramatically, Brent crude crossing the $80 mark. Experts warn that if this situation continues, we may soon see prices crossing $100 per barrel, triggering a global energy crisis. In Pakistan, fuel shortages have already begun at several pumps. LPG prices have increased, and the Pakistan Stock Exchange took a major hit, with a drop of over 4,000 points in just one day. This war is not just about missiles and maps. It's about politics, energy, survival, and the silence of global powers. First, the world stayed quiet when Israel struck Gaza, then Lebanon, then Yemen, and now Iran. How long will this silence last? And who will speak out when the fire reaches their own door? This isn't a Game of Thrones. This is a battle of consequences. And if diplomacy fails now, the world may soon find itself paying the price, not just in oil, but in blood, fear, and instability. Stay informed, and most of all, understand this isn't just their war anymore. It might become ours too. To understand the current escalation, we must look into the long and complicated history between Iran and Israel. This isn't a new rivalry. It is a decades-old geopolitical chess game shaped by ideology, power, and survival. Before the 1979 Islamic Revolution, Iran and Israel had a quiet but functional relationship. Iran, under the Shah, was seen as a strategic partner by both the West and Israel. But everything changed after the revolution. When Ayatollah Khomeini came to power, Iran cut all ties with Israel, branding it the Zionist regime, and openly supporting Palestinian resistance movements, especially Hamas and Hezbollah. Israel, in response, saw Iran not just as a hostile state, but as an existential threat. Over the years, both countries have engaged in proxy battles across the Middle East, from Syria to Lebanon, and even in cyberspace. The 2010 Stuxnet targeted Iran's nuclear centrifuges and set the tone for a new kind of warfare, one without borders, but full of consequences. Iran's nuclear ambitions have only deepened the divide. While Iran insists its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes, Israel has consistently warned the world of its potential to develop weapons-grade capabilities. These warnings are what led to covert operations. Iranian nuclear scientists mysteriously missile depots exploded, cyber networks hacked. A silent war long before the first missile was ever fired in the sky. The recent escalation, therefore, did not come from nowhere. It was built on years of mistrust, sabotage, and mutual threats. But what makes this moment different is the scale and the openness of the conflict. These are no longer secret missions or deniable skirmishes. These are open-air raids, public declarations, and national broadcasts showing missile launches and explosions. More dangerously, regional alliances are forming. Iran has received verbal support from some of its longtime allies, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and even segments of the Iraqi militia networks. On the other side, Israel remains backed by the United States and receives quiet intelligence support from several Arab countries that also fear Iran's growing influence, including Saudi Arabia and the UAE. And in between all this, the common people, civilians, continue to suffer. In both countries, air raid sirens and bunker drills have become the new normal. Hospitals are preparing for mass casualty events. Economies are bracing for impact. Analysts are warning that if the conflict isn't contained, it could trigger a wider sectarian war. Arab versus Persian, drawing in Yemen, Bahrain, and even Pakistan and Afghanistan into the storm. What happens next depends not just on the decisions made in Tehran and Tel Aviv, but also in Washington, Moscow, and Beijing. Will world powers step in to or will they fuel the fire with their own agendas? The war has started, but how far it spreads and who it consumes is still undecided.